In today's video, we're going to be using Adobe Photoshop to create ourselves a two-sided business card for a made-up company called Southside Vintage Clothing. Now in this tutorial, you will need to have made this logo that we did in a previous tutorial. So if you haven't done that yet, I'll make it now and save it up because we will need that logo in this tutorial. So this is the front of the business card that you'll be making today. Quite simple. And then we've got the back of the business card, which is a little bit more complex. Quite a bit involved on that one. Alrighty, you can see that we've got a grey, white and green colour scheme going on both the front and the back, which ties together both sides. Alright, but that is pretty straightforward. So let's get started on the back of the business card first. We'll get the hard stuff out of the way early on. So let's go to File and New, and we're going to make a custom sized document today. Our measurement's going to be in millimeters, so change it from whatever it was on, like pixels, and change it over to millimeters. And type in the size as 90 for the width and 55 for the height. The resolution needs to be 300 pixels per inch, and the color mode needs to be CMYK color. Those two settings there are in place so that we can print our business card at high resolution or high quality, so it'll come out nice and crisp. The background contents just need to be white today, and you can click create and we'll get a blank canvas ready to go. First thing we need to do is we need to get our rulers up on our page. Okay, rulers are on the left hand side of your page and run along the top of your page. Okay, and they're basically used as guides to help us out in positioning elements on the page. So to bring your rulers up, you need to press Ctrl R. Ctrl R will show and hide your rulers. Okay, so press Ctrl R to show your rulers. Once you can see them, I want you to right click on the rulers and make sure they're in millimeters. Okay, so just select millimeters and you might see your numbers change if they weren't in millimeters already. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the left hand side ruler, so just pick it up and drag it onto the page. And you want to get it at the 45 millimeter mark. Okay, you can see 45 millimeters up the top there, or you can see the little black box following your mouse cursor. Once that X value is on 45 millimeters, drop it into place and you'll see a light blue line appear on your page, and that's a ruler. Okay, and that's just going to be a guide for us in positioning some elements onto the back of our business card. We can get rid of it easily when we are all done. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to bring in is the logo that we created in a previous tutorial. The way I'm going to do that is just go to File, Place Embedded, and select the logo. It comes in quite large, so what you'll need to do is just resize it. So hold down Shift, drag from a corner, and make it a little bit smaller than half the size of your business card. So something like that. Press the tick at the top to apply those changes and just click off it. Okay, we're just going to leave it sitting there for the moment. The next thing we want to do is we want to color this left half of the business card in the same color as the background of our logo, so this dark gray color. So the first thing you need to do is just grab your eyedropper tool, which is this little one here from your toolbox, and just click on that dark gray. Okay, that way it selects that color for us to use in a moment. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down and grab our rectangle tool from the toolbox. Head up the top and make sure you've got your fill turned on, and I want you to choose the recently used colors. That very first one there is that dark gray that we just selected. And the stroke, if you've got a stroke turned on, I need you to turn it off. So choose the box with a red line going through it, and that'll get rid of the stroke. Remember, a stroke is another name for a border. Alright, so now I want you to start in the top left hand corner and simply drag out a rectangle that goes to the center line. Okay, when you drop it into position, that's how it's going to look. It's going to fill up one half of your business card. And you'll notice that rectangle has gone straight over the top of our logo and made it disappear. So what we need to do to get our logo back is just head over to our layers panel here on the right hand side. Just pick up the rectangle layer and drag it below the logo. So now the logo sits on top and the rectangle is beneath it. Okay, and that way we can see our logo. The next thing we want to do is we want to bring in a little QR code to put down here below our logo. If you don't know what a QR code is, I'll show you what one is. So let's go to File and Place Embedded, and I'll need to go into my business card folder and select the QR code. Okay, if you haven't seen one of these before, basically you can get your smartphone or your tablet and use an app to scan this code with the camera on your smartphone. Okay, and then once it scans this little code, it will make your smartphone perform a function. And in this case, it's going to take you to a website for Southside Vintage Clothing. So press the tick at the top, and that will just apply those changes, and that's looking pretty good at the moment. Okay, there's a bit of a white border sitting around my page, so I might just make my rectangle a bit bigger. You can make this rectangle go outside the lines if you want to. That won't hurt it at all. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. We'll get these positioned in the center very shortly. The next thing I want to do is just put a little bit of a pattern that runs down the middle here. Okay, the way we're going to do that pattern is we're going to grab our rectangle tool here, and we're going to choose a fill color that's going to be like a light green. Okay, probably don't go that full-on fluoro green. Okay, just choose a slightly less intense green, I suppose, for your fill color. We don't want a stroke, and what we're going to do is just draw from that top center point there, just drag out a little green rectangle that's going to look like that. Okay, it's nothing fancy about it. You can make it a little bit bigger or smaller if you want, but just something like that. Once you've drawn that little green rectangle, pop over to your layers panel here and just call it green rectangle 1, simply by double clicking on the name, and you can just type in your own name. And then we're going to right click on that layer and duplicate layer. We're going to make a second copy of this little green rectangle. We'll call it green rectangle 2 and click OK. So now you've got 2 green rectangles in your page, and if you pick up this one here, you'll see that you've still got one below it. I want you to put the second one down the bottom there in the exact same position, just at the bottom of the page. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to right click on green rectangle 2 and duplicate that layer. This time we're going to call it striped rectangle. Okay, and you'll see what we're going to do to that in just a moment. So with the striped rectangle layer selected, just drag up, and we're going to change the color of this green rectangle. Okay, so you need to get your properties panel open on the right hand side here, and where you've got that green fill color, I want you to change it to these stripes over here, and that's all you need to do. So you've got this stripy pattern now running through your little rectangle. So get it back over, position on the center line, and drag it out so it connects up now to those green rectangles. So it's going to look something like that when you're done. All right, just a cool little design. Adds a little bit of flair to our business card. All right. What I might also do before we finish up on this left side is just put a stroke around this QR code. And I'm going to put a green stroke like this color here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my QR code, and I'm going to pop over to my layers panel where it says QR code and just double click in the empty space next to the name QR code. From here I want you to select the stroke option, make the size 5 pixels, position it on the inside, blend mode will be normal, 100% opacity, and the color just needs to be the same as this green just here. Click OK, and you can see now you've got this nice green border around your QR code. So what I want you to do now is just simply get the logo and the QR code pretty much in the center of this left hand side. Just use your line of sight to try and work out where that center point is. Probably somewhere around there looks good. And we'll get that QR code about there. Alright, so that's the left side of our business card all done. On the right hand side, this is where we want to start adding in our contact details. Alright, so the first thing I might bring in is a few little icons. Okay, and if you have a look over in Curriculum Drive, I've got this folder called Contact Icons, and inside of there we've got these little icons that we can use on our business card. Now for some reason the preview is not working well on my computer, so you can't actually see what they look like. But the first one you want to drag out is either the man or the woman, depending if you're a man or a woman. Okay, so quick way to bring these in is just pick them up, drag them, and then drop them into Photoshop. So this is a little man icon. Using my shift key held down and my move tool up here, I'm going to resize this document. Remember, always resize from a corner. And you want to get these fairly small. They don't need to be big. Okay, probably something like that is a good size. Press the tick at the top when you're all done. Alright. Now with this little guy selected, on the page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this blue ruler simply by hovering over it, picking it up. And what I'm going to do is click on your man for a moment And when you see this bounding box appear around the outside of him, this blue ruler should be able to snap onto it. Okay, and then I'm going to bring out a second ruler. So click on the left ruler and drag out a second one and snap it to the other side. Okay, so that's how big we want our little icons to be. So when I bring in the next bunch of icons, I need to position them in between those two blue lines. Alright, so the next icon that I want to bring out is a little telephone. So here we are. Here we've got the phone icon. Come over to Photoshop, drag it and drop it in. Now we're going to resize it so it fits inside those blue lines. Okay, you may need to zoom in a bit. It's going to look a bit pixelated while you're doing this. But trust me, when you press the when you press the tick at the top, it comes back to reasonable quality. And just move that up top somewhere so it's a little bit closer to the little man. Next one we're going to bring out is the website one. Drag it, drop it in Photoshop, resize it. Alright, press the tick at the top when you're done, and we'll move that up a little bit. Don't worry about the position of them too much yet, as long as they're between those blue lines, I'm happy. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the folder and get the email icon, bring that over to Photoshop and drop it in, resize it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And the last one we're going to bring in is the address icon. Drop that in. Again, need to resize it. Oops. There we go. Press the tick at the top. We've got the 5 icons now in the page that we're going to use. Next thing I want to do is put a little circle around these icons. Alright, so I'm going to grab my ellipse tool from my toolbox. So hiding underneath the rectangle tool, you've got the ellipse tool, which is just another name for the circle. Head up the top, you want your fill color to be this green here. So I can see it in my recently used colors, so I'll select that green. Stroke, I want to use this dark gray here, so that's that one just there. And its size should be 1 or 2 pixels. I'm going to go with 2 pixels. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a little circle over the top of our man icon, so it just fits nicely. Alrighty, now it covers our man up, but that's easy to fix simply by going over to our layers panel and moving this ellipse below the man icon. And now we can see our little man again. So I can see that this circle needs to be a little bit bigger. It's probably hugging that man a little bit too much, so I'm going to use my move tool, making sure show transform controls is turned on. I'm just going to make him a little bit bigger so he's got a bit of breathing room around him. That looks pretty good. Press the tick at the top. Now to get the man and the circle perfectly aligned with one another, so we've got that man right in the center of that circle, what we can do is highlight both of those icons, so the circle and the little icon, and up the top I want you to choose this one here that says align vertical centers, and then this one over here that is align horizontal centers. That just slightly nudges our little guy around and gets him smack bang in the center of that circle. Alright, what I'm going to do now is just click on that circle, and you can see it down here in our layers panel. It's called ellipse 1. I'm just going to right click on it and duplicate the layer. Okay, we'll just call this ellipse 2. Click OK, and you can move the next circle down and put it over the phone. We'll do the same again, duplicate the layer, call it ellipse 3, click OK, and we're going to move the green circle down and put it over the little website icon. Over in my layers panel, I'll right click on ellipse 3 and duplicate that layer now. We'll call it ellipse 4. Just using my arrow keys to move it down, getting it into position. And then the final one, we just duplicate that, call it ellipse 5, click OK, and move the circle down. Now we want to position these right in the center like we did up the top here as well. So the little phone icon needs to be right in the center of this circle. So we just highlight those 2 icons and vertically and horizontally align them with one another. Do the same with these 2. Vertically, horizontally align them. There's not much movement taking place, but there is some slight movement, just nudging them around to get them perfectly centered with one another. There we go. So that looks pretty good. Next thing we might do is just highlight the top circle and icon, and down in your layers panel just right click and merge those layers together. Okay, and it's called man. That's fine. I'm going to do the same for the phone now. Highlight the phone and the green circle around it. Come over to my layers panel and right click and merge the layers. Do it for the next one. Highlight the website one. In the layers panel, right click and merge those layers together. Do the same for the email. Right click, merge layers. Whoops. Press the wrong one then. And finally the address one. Highlight both the circle and the icon. Merge the layers. And that just joins each of those together now. So if we move one, it moves the other as well. Alright, so zooming out a little bit now, we can see that these aren't evenly spread out down the page. That's our next job. Okay, so what we want to do is get the man into position at the top of the page where we want him. So not quite at the top, we just want to leave a little bit of breathing room from the edge of the page. And then this address one down here, we want to move that straight down with about the same amount of room from the bottom as we are from the top. What I'm going to do now is highlight all of those icons. And up the top here we can play with our alignments. What we want to do is we want to distribute the vertical centers. So this little icon here. And that distributes those circles evenly down the page. Okay, so there's an even gap between each of those little icons. I'm going to get rid of this ruler now by simply dragging it off the page. I'm going to keep this one though and just move it over to the right a little bit. Okay, what I'm going to use this for now is the text that needs to be typed in. Alright, so the first thing we need to type in at the top is our name and our position in the company. Just grab your text tool, or type tool, sorry, from your toolbox. That's the letter T. You want to make sure you've got the Gadagai font that we used previously on this logo. We'll just keep consistency there. We want to choose regular and size 6 for now. Make sure it's left aligned and simply click on the page and write your name, capital letters. On the next line, write your position in the business. Press the tick when you're done. If the type tool is still selected, we're going to put in a phone number. Coming down further, we're going to put in a website. Might get rid of the capitals now actually. So coming down in the new text box a bit further down, we've got an email address, so manager@southside.com. And then finally at the bottom we want to put in a postal address. There we go. Alright, so it's time to get these all perfectly lined up with one another. So what we might do is just highlight them all. Don't know if this is going to work or not. And what's this one here? We want to distribute left edges. No, we want to align the left edges with one another. There we go. So that's got them all lined up. And we can move them across to the blue line. So they're pretty much smack bang on the blue line. Alright, what we'll do now is just move this one up a bit. Move this bottom one down a bit. So they're basically in line, whoops, with their icons. And what we can do now is highlight all of that text and distribute them evenly down the page. So we distribute their vertical centers using that little button there. Okay, now that's got the text looking pretty sweet. What I might do with my name up the top here though is make it a bit bigger and bolder. So I'm just going to get the type tool back, highlight my name, and if you've got the option, make it bold rather than just regular, and maybe bump the size up 1 or 2 points. I might go to 7 points instead of 6. Press the tick at the top. You can now get rid of this ruler. We don't need it anymore. And that's looking pretty good. I might just get this text and using my arrow keys, just nudge it across to the right a bit, fill up a bit more of that space on the page. Alright, so that's looking good. That is the back of our business card all done. So you can save that one up. So when you're done, just go to File and Save As. And I'll save it on my desktop for now, but make sure you save this in a good folder. Just save it as a JPEG. And just call the name Back of Business Card. click Save. When the JPEG options box comes up, leave it at 10 for the quality and click OK. Alrighty, so that is the back of our business card, the hard stuff out of the way. What we're going to do now is design the front of the business card, which shouldn't take us too long, and then we're done. So we'll quickly go up to File and go to New. We'll make a new custom document with the same settings as before. So 90 mils width, 55 mil height, 300 pixels per inch resolution, CMYK color mode, and white for the background contents. Click on Create. Now we're going to place embedded again first up. And we'll just need to go back through our account. I need to find that logo from our previous tutorial and bring that in. Okay, just make that a little bit smaller. Something like that for now. Okay, we're going to color in the background that dark grey again. Alright, so grab your eyedropper, click on that dark grey, and grab your paint bucket tool. And clicking back on the background layer, just color that background in by clicking on the canvas with that that dark grey color. You can now move your logo around till it's in the center, something like that. The last thing I want to do is just put some green and stripy bars across the bottom, basically the same as this here. Okay, so what we can do, go back to your back section of the business card, and I want you to click on this green rectangle, hold Shift, click on the stripy rectangle, and while still holding Shift, click on the bottom green rectangle, and that selects all three rectangles. And what I want you to do is pick it up and drag it over to that tab, and then while still holding the mouse, come down and drop it onto the page. Holding Shift and not clicking right on the edge, but just off the edge, you can rotate this around and get it horizontal. And you want it to start in the bottom left corner, stretch it out to the bottom right corner like so. If you want to make it slightly bigger, you can, or you can just grab your logo. How about stretching that out a little bit more? Okay, just keep it centered on the page if you can. Press the tick when you're done. Okay, so that is the front of our business card all done already. Okay, there wasn't much to that, so we'll go File and Save As. And we'll make it a JPEG file again. And this time, instead of back of business card, we'll just call it front of business card. We'll click Save. Remember to leave it at 10 quality. Click OK, and you're all done. So there's the front of our business card all finished, and there's the back of our business card all finished. Alright, I'll catch you in the next video.